Hey, what's up guys?
So let's take a look at the operation of these three different dash cams when you've got it installed up on the windshield. We've got the Viofo A329, A229 Pro, and A229 Plus. They've all got the same design and layout, and they've got the same buttons here, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at the buttons here with the A329, but the same exact thing is going to apply here to all three different models. After that, we'll dive into the different settings and menu options to help you get the dash cam configured the way that you want. And it's also worth noting that this information is going to be fairly universal across the different dash cams in Viofo's lineup, and so this information is also going to apply with other Viofo dash cams too. Now, starting off with the basic operation here of these different dash cams, the buttons here on the bottom are going to do different things depending on what mode the dash cam is in. So if it's actively recording, or if you stop recording here like this, the buttons are going to do different things. Additionally, if you're going to go into the settings menu, or if you want to start playing back some of the different video footage, these buttons are all going to actually do different things. Now, beginning here first with when the dash cam is just up and running, normal operation, you're driving, what do the different buttons do? So the first thing right here, we've got a button here on the left underneath the power button. A short press like that is going to go ahead and just take a picture. A long press is actually going to allow us to turn the dash cam off and then on if we like. Then the record button right here is going to allow us to start and stop recording. You can see I've got the recording LED blinking, and then right up there at the top, you can also see that LED blinking. If we push a button there like that, it's going to go ahead and stop recording, which you may actually need to do in order to get into the menu there. If you don't stop recording, I'll go ahead and show you that. So we're just going to go ahead and start recording again. If you want to go into the menu here, you can't actually do it. It's just going to take a photo like that. So again, you're going to have to stop recording first in order to go into the menu. So again, like I mentioned, the buttons do different things. Now this button here is going to be your emergency recording. So in case of like a crash or something wild or interesting happens in the on the road and you want to save that clip, you can press the emergency recording here. It's going to save and protect that clip, put it in a separate folder, and make sure that it doesn't get accidentally overwritten when the memory card gets full. Next, we've got the microphone button right here, so you can turn the microphone on and off. When the microphone is off, you can see a little icon right there at the top that says the microphone is disabled. So maybe for privacy reasons, or if you're on a phone call or something, you can always turn the mic off. And you can turn it back on right there with that button. Additionally, if you want to turn parking mode on and off, you can just press and hold this button here like this, and it'll go ahead and disable parking mode for you like that. If you then want to re-enable it, you can just press and hold that, and it's going to go ahead and turn parking mode back on. If you're using parking mode, you are going to want to pick up the hardwire cable for parking mode and then wire it into like your car battery or dedicated dash cam battery pack or something. But that's how you can enable and disable parking mode on the fly. Now the Wi-Fi button right here is going to be, well, turning Wi-Fi on and off. You can press and hold the button to turn Wi-Fi on and off, but a short press is actually going to be switching different camera views like this. So you can see I've got a 2-channel configuration set up with front and rear. And if I want to just quickly see, you know, like which camera views, maybe if I want to see like back behind me or something, I can just press the button here like this to switch different modes. And then if I want to go ahead and turn Wi-Fi on, like what you'll want to do to actually maybe use the app to download video footage or make it easier to adjust settings, you just press and hold the button right there. And then right here on screen, you'll see the default SSID and password that you're going to type into your phone to get the app connected. Now, if we stop recording here real quick, we're going to go over here. Whoops, looks like we got to turn off Wi-Fi as well to go into the settings. So we'll do that. Next, we'll be able to go in here and take a look at the different settings. Now, to scroll through the different settings and menu options, you can just kind of go up and down here like this with these buttons opposite side of the emergency recording button. You can choose whatever setting that you want. So if you want to change maybe the resolution or whatever other options, you can just pick them here like this and then push the middle button there to select that option. And then if we go back, you've got the same idea here for the system settings. So basically more settings in the dash cam. But the last option here for file lists, that's where you can access all of the video files that have been saved here in the dash cam while you've been driving and parked. And if we go in here, you can see we've got the different video files for both the front and the rear cameras. And you can just kind of go in and select which video files you want. And you can hit this button here, and you're going to be able to just push the button right there to play back any of the video footage. Well, you can also adjust the speed. Here, actually, I'll stop that so it doesn't interfere with the audio. Though if we do restart it here real quick, you can actually push these buttons right here. And I'll show you, like, you can adjust the playback speed if you want to maybe go like faster or slower through these different video clips. Then we'll just stop it again real quick. And then you can see we can, like, you know, go back and stuff. So basically your navigation, you can delete clips, you can lock and protect clips, etc. all here from the dash cam. Or if you connect it to Wi-Fi, you can also have it transfer all these video files to your phone and play them back on your phone as well. Next, let's take a look at the different settings and menu options available here. Now, for the most part, as you can see, they're basically the same looking camera, but there are a few small differences. For example, this is going to be the 2K model, this is going to be a 4K model, and then this is a 4K model with some additional accessories and advanced features. Now, the other settings differences are going to be related to things like some of the different ports here on the side of the dash cam. So for example, if you take a look on the A229 series, we have a port here for the interior camera. And so there's going to be settings here to control that, to rotate the camera, or to turn on the infrared LEDs that can light up the inside of the cabin for you. Over here, you can notice we've got a port here for the HDMI connector. So if you want like an external display for a backup camera or hook it up to a TV or something, there are some differences there. Additionally, there's a port right here for a rear camera, but if you flip over the A229 series, you can see the port for the rear camera is over here on this side. On the A329, that USB Type-C port is instead used for an external SSD drive if you want to have an alternate place to store all the footage instead of actually relying on the memory card here inside the dash cam. But otherwise, with those exceptions, the settings and options should be the same here on both dash cams. Now, in order to adjust the different settings and menu options, there's two different ways to do it. You can either do it directly in the dash cam here like this. We'll go ahead and stop recording, and then we'll hit this button here to dive into the menu. Alternatively, you can also activate the Wi-Fi capability here on the dash cam and connect to it over your phone to adjust a lot of the same settings here. Now, in general, I actually prefer adjusting the settings here from the phone. It is a little bit easier. However, sometimes when there's a new firmware update that adds new features, it takes a little while for the app to be updated to support all those features as well. But here's how that process is going to work. Now, if we press and hold the Wi-Fi button here like this, we're going to go ahead and turn Wi-Fi on the dash cam. And then on screen, you'll see the default Wi-Fi SSID and password to connect to on your phone. Now, once you're connected over Wi-Fi, you can just hit connect camera here like this, and you're going to be up and running connected over Wi-Fi. You'll then be able to live stream everything that's going on here in the dash cam, and you can see everything both on the dash cam and on the phone together. Now, if you go over here to the settings option, it's going to allow you to go ahead and start adjusting the different settings in the dash cam. Again, it's going to be all the same stuff that you can do directly in the dash cam. This is a little bit easier. Plus, there are a couple options maybe if you want to go in and adjust maybe like the Wi-Fi SSID name. Additionally, if you want to go in and adjust maybe some of the like custom text that can get stamped on screen, so like your name, or if you have multiple dash cams, maybe if you want to put like a specific car, you know, the blue car or the red car or whatever else, you can customize some text, and it is a little bit easier to do here from the phone than it is from the dash cam. There's also some settings where like you can have it sync the time on the phone and the dash cam. So like right here, for example, once you set your time zone on the dash cam, you can go in here and actually synchronize the time from the phone directly over to the dash cam. So there is some stuff that I prefer doing here on the phone, but we're going to go ahead and dive into the dash cam and take a look at things a little bit more directly. Let's go ahead and stop recording, and then we're going to go into the settings menu here like this. Now again, things are broken up in two sections. We're going to start here first with the video settings. And right over here, we've got the option to adjust the different resolution options for the different dash cams. This, again, will vary depending on which dash cam you're running. This A329 does do 4K and 60 FPS. The A229 Pro does 4K and 30 FPS. And then the A229 Plus does 2K and 30 FPS. If you want to dial back the resolution or the frame rate or the aspect ratio or anything, maybe get smaller file sizes, you do have the option here. Then if we go into HDR, this is a very helpful feature, high dynamic range. It's going to allow you to do a better job of capturing details like license plates at night, for example, but it's not always particularly useful in the daytime. So you can turn it on and off as you want. I actually prefer having the auto HDR option where you can choose to have HDR turn off in the daytime and then turn back on when things start to get darker outside. So that's my preferred way of actually doing it. And you can configure this here for both the front and for the rear camera separately. So let's do auto HDR for both front and rear. Next, we can go into the video bitrate. This is basically adjusting how much detail it's capturing and saving into the video files. The default is going to be the normal option. If you want, maybe you're recording for like a long period of time, you can actually do the low bitrate option, smaller file sizes. But myself personally, I prefer going for like the maximum quality, maximum bitrate. And I just throw in like a huge memory card. It supports up to 512 gig cards. Cards are cheap, so I say actually just crank up the quality, get as much detail captured as you can. So I prefer the maximum option. Then as far as loop recording, this is basically allowing you to create like separate 1-minute clips. Every dash cam is going to record continuously, basically forever, until the memory card fills up, and then it starts overwriting all of the oldest clips. Now, it's going to be creating clips in 1-minute increments. If you want maybe larger clips to record in like 2-minute chunks or 3-minute chunks, you can do that. You can always combine the video clips later or trim them and stuff in a video editor, but I prefer maybe doing like 1 minute at a time just to get smaller videos that are a little bit faster to transfer over Wi-Fi and whatnot. You can also have it set up to record audio. You can turn it on and off, and there's also a shortcut here to do it through the microphone button. If you want to just quickly turn off the mic temporarily on the fly or something, you can do that. You've also got the ability to do your exposure compensation for both the front and the rear cameras. So if you want to maybe make the dash cam a little bit darker by default, you can do that with the negative values. And you can also do it with the positive values. If you maybe think the dash cam is recording a little bit too dark by default and you want to make it brighter, you can adjust that. I never really mess with that, but you do have the ability here to adjust exposure compensation. It applies both day and night, and you do have them here for both the front and rear cameras. The G sensor is basically for your impact detection, like if you're driving, if you get into a crash or something, the G sensor can actually save and protect that clip. Though I do find if you have it set too high, it'll trigger off like speed bumps and potholes and stuff. So I actually just turn this off altogether. If I'm in a crash, I mean, I know I'm going to be pulling the dash cam footage, so I don't want it recording on like speed bumps and stuff. So I turn it off, but you do have a G sensor built in here. I find it a little bit more helpful for parking recording, but we'll cover that in just a bit. Now, as far as the stamp, you have the ability to actually stamp a couple different things onto the video footage itself. You can display the current date, your speed that you're traveling, your latitude and longitude, and then your custom stamp, like you saw before, it was displaying vortex radar or something. You can turn that kind of stuff on and off, or the custom text that you're doing for the license plate. You can have the Viofo logo displayed on the top of the screen if you want to advertise for the company whose dash cam you bought. You can do the brand model, currently running the A329, so you can have it display the model or also the resolution that you're choosing here. And then there's also the option on the A329 specifically where you can customize the color of the different text. So if you're driving like maybe a white car, it might be hard to see the white text at the bottom of the screen, so you can change the color. Additionally, sometimes reflections in the sun can be a little bit tough to read, and so you can actually adjust the color here on the A329. Next, if we go down to time-lapse recording, this is going to be time-lapse for driving recording. So if you don't want video and audio and you want like a sped-up time-lapse or something for maybe a really long road trip, you can adjust this option here. But again, it's not going to be giving you traditional video. It's just if you want time-lapse while driving. Time-lapse for parking recording can be useful, but that's going to be a separate option. And actually, speaking of parking recording, let's dive into that next. So there's a lot of options here and kind of this like sub-menu for different parking recording options. So the different parking recording modes, let's actually start here from the top. You can turn off parking recording altogether if you want. But if you've got the dash cam wired into a power source while the car is parked, again, using the hardwire cable and either tapped into the car's battery or a dedicated dash cam battery pack, you've got a couple different options here for a time-lapse mode. Now, the standard time-lapse mode is, again, just going to be like a time-lapse video with just video sped up but no audio. You've got the choice of how many frames it records per second. Again, there's video only here, there's no audio. There's also an option here for the A329 that's new compared to the A229 series. It's time-lapse 1 FPS with night vision. It basically does a much better job of capturing at night and boosts the sensitivity to make things much brighter at night. Additionally, the power draw is basically cut in half, so you can record in parking mode for twice as long before it drains your battery and turns off. So that's a cool new feature here on the A329. Then continuing on, the other parking recording modes, maybe one of my favorites is just the low bitrate option. It's continuous recording, both video and audio, but it does drop the quality and the file sizes so you can record for a longer period of time without basically filling up your memory card. And then the last option is going to be your auto event detection. This is a popular one for both motion detection and impact detection, but not continuously recording everything the way low bitrate does. So you do get higher quality here, but there is the risk of maybe like if you don't have your settings dialed in just right, it might not actually capture an impact or a person who walks by and keys your car or something. So this is going to guarantee that you're recording everything, but then you do have a ton of video footage that you're not going to need. Auto event detection is going to do a better job of trying to actually capture just the stuff that might be an issue. Now, if we've got the parking recording timer, you can basically choose how long it records for before it actually shuts off the dash cam. So maybe if you don't want to drain your car battery too much, the longest you're parked is maybe at work for like 8 hours or something, you can do that. Maybe if you wanted to record over a weekend, you can go for a longer period of time. Or if you've got, you just say, go for as long as you possibly can, you can turn the parking recording timer off. Then as far as entering the parking record timer, you can choose, does it immediately start recording in parking mode as soon as you turn off your car, or maybe you want it to wait 90 seconds or so before it switches into parking mode. Then the parking mode G sensor, this is a useful one. So if you wanted to record like an impact in case of a hit and run or something, you can adjust the sensitivity here. You might want to dial back the sensitivity if like the vibrations from a loud car sometimes triggers recordings that you don't want. You can adjust the sensitivity here, but in general, I do like to run it pretty high just to make sure I capture any impacts, especially maybe like a weaker one, just somebody lightly bumps my car. I do want to ensure that that's going to get recorded. Then the parking motion detection, again, this is going to apply to your auto event detection parking mode. If you've got the motion detection and impact detection, you can adjust how sensitive the motion detection is. You can maybe crank it up super high, but then like trees blowing in the wind or the rain or something with the raindrops might create a bunch of unwanted recording clips. And so you can maybe dial back the sensitivity. So again, you can kind of like adjust this as you want with a little bit of trial and error when you get it installed. As far as the parking GPS, you can actually turn off the GPS now. This is the GPS antenna. It's actually built into the mount. So if you want, you can actually now turn off the GPS so you don't need to display, your speed and stuff while you're parked. But the main benefit is it will actually saves power, so you can record for a longer period of time. And then parking HDR. If you want the HDR capabilities for maybe, again, better dynamic range, particularly at night, you can turn that on and off here specifically for parking mode. Next, we can go into the image rotation option. So you've got the ability here, I'll pull over the rear cam, which I've got plugged in, which is gonna allow you to actually rotate the rear camera. So you can kind of like, adjust if, for whatever reason, if you install it this way, but you find the video clips are upside down and you didn't install it like that. Sometimes it's easier to have it installed this way or that way, depending on, their car and where you want to run the cables. In case things are flipped, you can just rotate the dash cam right there. And the same thing if you find maybe after you flip it, it's mirrored or something, you can also just do a quick mirror of that rear video footage as well. And the same idea if you've got one of the dash cams with the interior cameras, like the A229 series, you'll have the options there for rotating and mirroring the interior cameras as well. Next, as far as the custom text stamp, that's what I was talking about earlier. That's a little bit easier to actually do from the phone. You can do it here from the dash cam and just like manually, adjusting all the different settings. It is a little bit tedious, so it's a lot easier to do this from the app, but you can do it here from the dash cam too. Then the license plate number, it's just some additional text you can have displayed here on screen. I like to actually sometimes display the firmware version for testing and whatnot, but you can have it display maybe specific cars if you've got several dash cams in different cars, just to make it easier to quickly identify, which car the video footage is from. Then the live video source, again, that was what we looked at before, where you can choose what is actually displayed here on screen at idle. So rear overlaid is like front camera by default, and then rear in the corner. You can also flip it. You can have it display just the front camera or just the rear camera or whatever you want. And then the last option here in this group is going to be the privacy mode. This is good for like Uber and Lyft drivers, for example. So let's say maybe you don't want it recording everything continuously and totally filling up your card. If you turn on privacy mode, it's basically only going to record for like 2 minutes or so and then begin deleting everything else before that. You can just press the button there to save and protect the clip. But otherwise, if you don't want it recording forever, you do have the option to enable privacy mode. Maybe also if you're driving around, you have sensitive conversations in the car, on the phone or something, you can enable privacy mode, and it's only going to be there to record like maybe crashes or, just something really vital and important. So the G sensor can trigger, protecting the clip, or manually pressing the button can save it. But otherwise, it's not going to be saving all of the clips while you're driving. Next, going back to the main menu, we'll go down here to the system settings. So this is basically just another group of settings that you've got that aren't necessarily like the video specifically. So starting off here with the Wi-Fi, you've got the ability to turn Wi-Fi on and off, and you do have 2 different speeds. I prefer 5 gigahertz just because you do get much faster file transfers, but you also have the option here for 2.4 gigahertz if you prefer. Let's see, I'm going to turn it off for now, and then I just turn it on with that button right there. The Bluetooth button function, Viofo does sell a button that's going to basically duplicate this functionality. So you can basically press it to trigger the emergency recording, maybe in a place where the button's installed that's a little bit more convenient. And the new version does have 2 buttons on the side that you can customize here on the dash cam. So the mic button on top, you can customize what that button actually does. So you can see we've got a bunch of different options here to turn the microphone on and off. The button can take a photo, just like by pressing this button. You can turn Wi-Fi on and off. You can power off the dash cam. You can switch to time-lapse recording instead of traditional video recording, or you can manually turn HDR on and off if you don't want to rely on the auto HDR functionality. And then the same kind of thing with the action button. That bottom side button has all the same different options, so you can customize what that one does as well. Next, you can go in here and adjust your time zone. Just choose whatever time zone is appropriate for where you are. And then as far as the time format, you can choose if it's 12 or 24 hours, whatever you prefer. Going down to daylight savings time, you can choose if you want daylight savings time kind of on and off here like this. And then as far as adjusting the date and time, again, we can do this through the phone, but you can also manually do it here through the dash cam as well. Going in for the boot delay, you can choose if you want the dash cam to wait a little bit. If you maybe start up your car, how long does it take until your dash cam wakes up and begins recording? In some instances, you might want to delay it a little bit, but I prefer having it off so my dash cam boots up as quickly as possible and begins recording and protecting me as soon as possible. As far as the LED, you can choose kind of like what LEDs you're flashing here. You can see I've got them all on and they're kind of blinking and stuff. If you want to adjust it to have just that LED on, you can do that. You can see they all kind of turned off. If you want to turn them all off altogether to maybe have it a little bit stealthier while the dash cam is installed, you can do that. But if you just want to have like everything here with the different status indicators, you've got that option. The parking mode LED, kind of similar idea here. You can maybe, if you don't want all the lights on while your dash cam is parked, you want a little bit more stealth and low key, you can turn off the LEDs and stuff. I kind of like some, maybe having just the power LED, so at a glance you can tell that the dash cam is still on, dash cams, or the battery's not depleted, it's still recording. But again, you can kind of like customize this as you like. Now, as far as managing the SSD storage, if you have the A329, this USB port here on the side is not the rear camera, it's to plug in an external SSD drive. So if you don't want to record on the memory card here, maybe for, I don't know, privacy, you're worried about theft, somebody steals the dash cam and they get the video card with all your driving, you can have the SSD maybe stored somewhere out of sight. It also does help to keep the dash cam cooler, so if you're in like a really hot climate, not right into the memory card, it does keep the dash cam on the window cooler. Or if you want to record for even longer than like what a memory card can support, you're going on really long drives and you want to capture the whole thing, you can have it recorded on an SSD drive. Again, with the A229 series, you don't have that option, so this is something that's going to be exclusive to the A329. This one, it's the USB port is just for the rear camera. Anyways, you can have it basically choose if it records to the SSD drive or to the microSD card. And then you can also, if you want, back up the clips that are from the microSD card to the external SSD drive. So you can do just the last 24 hours or the last week, or all the video footage that's stored here on the memory card. And then if you want, you can also delete all the files that are stored on the external SSD. Now, down here, you've got the option to actually choose where it's going to be saving all the video files. So you can either record to the microSD or to the external SSD. And if you take a look, we'll go back to the main display. You can see right now it's recording to the microSD card, and you can see it's lit up there in green. If I've got the SSD drive plugged in, it'll actually switch over and tell me that it's recording to the SSD instead. Next, we've got this beep sound here like this. So as you can tell, as I'm kind of playing with the dash cam, there's those different beeps. You can turn it off if you like, and so now when I go through stuff, there's no more beeps. And you can customize maybe like it only beeps for certain things. I'm gonna turn it off here for now. Continuing on, the voice notifications, as you can hear, it tells you when you're starting and stopping recording or turning Wi-Fi on and off. You can turn that confirmation kind of on and off. The voice notification volume, you can also adjust just how loud those spoken notifications are. The voice control, the dash cam can actually be controlled here by your voice. So if you want to trigger the emergency recording by your voice, for example, you can do that. Now, here's a look at all the different commands that are available here in the dash cam. So you might want to do things just saying like, turn on Wi-Fi or lock the video. I like that one. So instead of pressing this button, you can just say lock the video and it'll save and protect that clip. It's not always going to work if there's maybe a lot of road noise on the highway, or if you've got the music playing and it's hard for it to hear you over the music. So if you're using this stuff and it's important, maybe keep the audio on with like those audible confirmations. So when you say lock the video, here, we'll actually try that real quick. I'll demo it. So let's do voice control on and then voice notifications on. Okay, so now when I go back, we'll go back here to the main screen. We'll let it start recording. Lock the video. So that's the idea. And again, it just gives you another way to kind of remotely access the dash cam, especially if it's maybe installed behind your rearview mirror, kind of out of sight and inaccessible. You can now control it with your voice. Now, honestly, I like to keep the voice command stuff actually turned off, because sometimes if I'm listening to the radio, something that's being spoken on the radio or the music can actually trigger the dash cam to do different things that I'm not intending. So I actually prefer keeping the voice control stuff turned off and instead relying on the physical buttons or like the remote physical button instead. GPS, you can turn that on and off if you want. So like displaying your speed and latitude and longitude and stuff, you can turn that on and off. I do find it handy, so I like it turned on. Speed units, have it set up for miles per hour or in kilometers per hour, whatever's appropriate for where you're driving. Screensaver, basically have the display turned on. I like having the display on at startup just so I can verify that everything is up and running. And then you can choose how long it takes before the dash cam actually just kind of like turns off the screen at idle. Now the video out on-screen display, if you've got the dash cam actually set up on this side here with an external HDMI connector, so maybe like you're plugging it in to an external display as like a backup camera or something, you can choose if you want the on-screen display to display all the extra stuff. So for example, you'll notice when we're at this main screen, we've got all this extra text here, right? These little icons, the text to tell me what resolution I'm in, the time and date, all that kind of stuff. You can also have that displayed on the external display. However, if you don't need all that stuff, you can actually go into here and turn the on-screen display off, and then it's only going to be displaying the video without all that extra text. So you've got the option here on how that works. And then the frequency, if the lights in your area actually operate at like 60 hertz or 50 hertz, so like the AC power specifically, if it operates at like 60 hertz like we have here in the US, in other parts of the world, everything operates at 50 hertz. So you can actually adjust this option here to avoid some of the flickering that you'll see when you're driving down the road based on the frequency of the electricity in your area. Language, just choose whatever language that you want. You can see we've got a bunch of different options available here. And then a lot of options actually. So let's go over to English. Format, you can format the memory card here. It is a good idea to do that periodically just to kind of keep things fresh, but obviously it is going to erase everything that's been saved on the memory card, so make sure you've saved everything and pulled it off before you do that. You can also have it remind you to like, hey, it's been a little while since you formatted the card. You can do it. You can have it reset all of your settings back to the default settings, and then finally this will actually tell you the firmware version that's currently loaded in here into the Dashcam. And again, a lot of this kind of stuff you can also get from the app, but I kind of wanted to cover it here from the Dashcam just because sometimes the app doesn't have everything, especially if you just updated everything here on the Dashcam, new settings and options, it might take a little bit of time to show up in the app. Now that said, there are some settings that are actually only available here from the app. We've touched on some of those at the beginning of the video, things like, being able to synchronize the time from the phone to the Dashcam, but there's also going to be stuff like if you scroll down, there's going to be an option for this Wi-Fi station configuration. And what this is going to allow you to do is actually have it connect here to your home Wi-Fi. So you type in like your home's Wi-Fi SSID and password, for example, and then it's going to be able to connect to that. And then from another device on your home network, like your phone or your computer or something, you're actually going to be able to remotely connect into the Dashcam to access all of the video footage. That is not something, as you saw, that's available to set up and configure here from the Dashcam, but you can do it actually here from the app. You can also see things like how much space is available here in the memory card, or, it is honestly a little bit easier, so this is probably the default way of how you'd want to go in here and do everything, but otherwise it's going to have a lot of the same options that you've got available in the Dashcam. Now, as new firmware updates are released, some of the stuff is of course subject to change. Maybe they'll add some additional features that are not available yet at the time I'm shooting this video. Maybe the implementation of some of these features may change over time, of course, so you can always reference the updated documentation on Viofo's website. But nevertheless, this should help get you up to speed as far as the buttons, the menu options, the settings, and getting everything dialed in and optimized to give you the best experience possible when you're out driving and parked. Down in the description, I'll link to a variety of different dash cams that I talked about here, different accessories, memory cards, cables, all that kind of stuff. I'll link to a bunch of stuff for you guys down in the description below as well. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys are all doing great. I'll see you in the next one.